Welcome to Step Zero. I'm your host, Caitlin Henry. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Siegel Kolodziejski, founder of Pure Clarity, certified alcohol-free and mindset coach. Sarah became alcohol-free in her late 40s, not because of a dramatic bottoming out, but because a persistent inner voice quietly whispered, "This isn't working anymore." And I have goosebumps because that was my personal story as well. Out of Sarah's own journey, she created Pure Clarity as the lifeline she wished she had. A mindful drinking, mindful living brand and coaching community devoted to women 35 and up who want to break the toxic cycle of alcohol, reclaim their power, and rewrite their lives with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Sarah's work spans personal coaching, curated alcohol-free events and retreats, and a supportive community where women are invited to show up fully. No pressure, no perfection, just authentic presence and real transformation. Today, Sarah is here to share how she went from private despair to public calling, how she transformed her own life, and how she's now helping others do the same. Sarah, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Kate, and I'm so excited to be here.
I know we got a little bit going before the recording, and I was like, stop talking. We have to get the gold on the podcast. So we're just going to start today with your personal journey. Like, take us back to what life looked like before you answered that inner voice of alcohol isn't serving me. What was going on?
Yeah, so my drinking career started at age 15. I grew up in England in a small town. And, it really was a rite of passage to start drinking at a young age. And I started at 15 and started, spending time with my friends. And then going into my 20s, it became, just a crutch. I was a young mother and, became part of the mummy wine culture. And in my 30s, that's where definitely a pivotal change came. I was a newly divorced mom of 2 boys, and I saw drinking as liberation, as tapping into a freedom, liberation, but also brought about, and it wasn't obviously liberating, brought about problems, irresponsible choices, not being the parent or the mom that I really, is my biggest joy, is being a mother. And I didn't show up sometimes as the mother that I would want to be, and making irresponsible,
Well, and I think the point there is sometimes you felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was only sometimes you weren't showing up. The other times it was like, this is my greatest joy. This is my greatest blessing. I'm not drinking around the clock 20.
Exactly. Thank you. Absolutely. For sure. Because it wasn't where I needed to drink every day. I could have a glass of wine and put it down. It was ebbs and flows. But then there were times where that was kind of the start of my binge drinking, where one wasn't enough, and that when you are drinking, you just build up that tolerance. And into my 40s, it definitely brought out anger. It brought out unresolved trauma. It brought out a side of me that wasn't me, that wasn't aligned with my true soul and spirit.
Were you doing any work with the divorce? Did you go to personal therapy?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And my therapist said, you really need to stop drinking. And
interesting. Your therapist told you. Wow.
Yeah, and I still see her today out and about, and I don't go to her anymore, but she lives locally. And anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. But and I said, yeah, I know I need to. And I would I would do short periods of time where I wouldn't drink. But then,
so you were already monitoring. You were already saying,
yes,
you know what, I can put this down sometimes so I don't have a problem.
100%. Yeah. And my friends, even to this day, still say to me, who have known me for decades, I never really saw that you had a big problem. I never saw you like really drunk or out of control. But it was the private moments that led to the despair. It was the private moments of waking up where I had no idea what had happened the night before. There were parts of the night where I just blacked out. And I also said things, or I slurred my words. And then as my kids got older, looking at them in their eyes and their expressions and saying, Mom, you've been drinking. You're not acting the way that you are. And just seeing that look in their eyes, their disappointment, but also knowing that I was more than that. I was more than, and I had tried to moderate. I had tried to give up. I actually went for 8 months without drinking and felt amazing. And then I met my husband when we started drinking together, and the romance and the dinners and the travel and that all came back. The drinking came back.
And were there any consequences at that time when you started reintegrating it in on a more regular basis?
I would say, yeah, for sure. I mean, just waking up feeling like crap physically. And again, just arguments. Him and I would fight if we both been drinking too much. And again, there was insecurities that I had walked into the relationship with, and that came out during drinking. Drinking gave me that courage to say really what was on my mind, which was very negative. And this isn't who I am. And I couldn't come back to that. I couldn't come back to me with alcohol in my life.
And you are speaking to the majority of the listeners who have this quiet inner knowing, and it's not so much the consequences were looking like my rock bottom was I got a DUI, my rock bottom was rehab. This is really the quiet inner knowing was happening over time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just overnight.
Yeah. I looked at my life, and as far as like when it was at its worst, alcohol was always involved. But I was so fearful about removing alcohol because it was like, well, what do I do then? How would life look then? It's going to be boring. And I didn't even really want to hang out with the people that were not drinking. I would actually avoid those people. If people weren't drinking, I wouldn't really necessarily run to have dinner with them or go to a restaurant if they didn't serve alcohol. So that whole conditioning that happens when you have alcohol be such a massive part of your life for so long, removing it is actually more of a fear than actually living with it with all the consequences. So yes. July 4th party happened, by the beach, and culminated in me drinking too much.
And how old were you, and how old were your kids at this time?
Oh, thank you. So yes, I was 48. Okay. So yeah, I was late 40s. I'm 52 now. And my kids were in their 20s. So I have a 22-year-old and a 26-year-old. And yeah, so it culminated in me coming home, getting into a huge fight with my 22-year-old, he was younger then, arguing with my husband-to-be, and ending up in the guest bedroom downstairs, crying, And then I just woke up the next day and said, that's it.
Oh my gosh. So take us to that moment. How are you feeling when you were telling yourself, I don't know if they were telling you as well, but what did that feel like, and what was your next step? How did you say, this is enough, I can't do this anymore? But like you said, you didn't know really what to do.
I felt alone in that decision because I kind of looked in my life as far as who I could turn to that could understand. And there really wasn't anybody, but there was one person, Laura Cathcart Robbins, who I knew, who actually was the author of Stash.
Yeah, I just saw her at the book launch for...
The Sober Shift?
Yeah, the Sober Shift. Oh my gosh.
Gosh, okay, I was there.
That makes so much sense. Did you ask a question? Because I remember someone with your accent being like...
I did. That's so funny.
I was the first question, I think. I asked something about children or something or other, but that is so funny.
Oh, that's so funny. My God, we're in the same place.
I love this. Okay, so Laura, and she has a great book called Stash. Is that right? Am I getting that right? So I want to promote her as well here.
Yes.
And so this is what they call in a 12-step recovery program. They call it your Eskimo, where you have maybe a couple people who you know are actually sober, and you get brave enough to reach out. So when you reached out to her, your little Eskimo, what did she tell you?
I was ready, Caitlin, but I don't think I was 100% ready because my conversation with her was very convoluted. It was, hey, Laura, I need to make some changes. I really need support right now, but I don't need a sponsor. I was telling her how it was going to be and what I thought I needed. And I remember her response was very hesitant. She could hear that I wasn't ready, but she was also trying to be supportive. So that was the first reach out. But then I dove into hypnosis tapes with Georgia Foster, and I dove into reading books and listening to podcasts and Annie Grace, and kind of delved into the world of, alcohol-free living and getting on the right path.
So similar to what we were talking about earlier, how my story is I Googled girl that feels like alcoholic but isn't one. And
Right.
all that
I
came up.
Googled so many times before, do I have a drinking
Exactly.
problem? Yeah.
And it was sober curious, gray area drinking,
Yeah.
like, let's show you another way besides a 12-step program. And I was, okay, I could do that because I don't look or sound like an alcoholic. That's the guy on
Right.
the side of the street with a brown paper bag outside a 7-Eleven begging for money because he doesn't even have a home. That was my idea of what an
Yeah.
alcoholic was. So
Yeah.
you sound so similar in that story. So hypnosis, Annie Grace, This Naked Mind, for those of you that don't know, and podcasts, and tell us where it went from there.
Books, and then modalities, sound bath. I delved deeper into my wellness practices. Ironically, I've always lived a life with a foundation of wellness, and alcohol obviously is such a massive contradiction to that. But that was always important to me. But removing alcohol was really never an option, even when I was doing all of those things. And I just really just threw myself into really just deepening the relationship with myself, and really looking at my life, and really looking at where alcohol came into play, and answering the hard questions within myself. And then my family obviously stepped in and were extremely supportive and compassionate and loving, and just, today just so inspired by my journey and by everything that I've been doing.
What was your relationship with your husband like at that time? Was he scared that you were going to stop drinking, or was he fully on board, like, this needs to happen?
Fully on board, fully on board. And, the early times, Caitlin, we used to go out, a date night or something. I'd be uncomfortable with not drinking and him not drinking. I wanted him to drink. I didn't want him to think that he had to not drink because I wasn't drinking. But that was a really big part of our relationship at one point. So I thought, well, how is our relationship going to look at this point with me not drinking and him drinking? So I would always say to him, Chris, please, have a drink, have another one, and he was like, I don't need to, I'm good. And then he read Annie Grace's book. He put the book down. He said, I'm not going to drink anymore.
Wow.
So
I've heard that. I just heard that from a friend in Norway. She said the same exact thing. She went alcohol free. She started ingesting the literature, listening to podcasts, same exact book, This Naked Mind. She gave it to her husband, and he said, this makes me not want to drink. She just puts it so practically, and the facts are there.
yeah, yeah, they are. They're right in front of you. And when you see, we live in such a conditioned life with alcohol. And as again, I said earlier, the fear of giving it up, if you compare with all the consequences, it just wasn't an option. It was an addiction, and I didn't want to admit that, but I knew that it carried me through decades of, anxiety, depression. I used it as a crutch when my father died. What did I do? I drank. I mean, whenever it was a coping mechanism. But also it was
Absolutely.
a time where it created a lot of fun times as well. And when I did give up, there was a friend that said to me, well, you're not going to be fun anymore. And she's still a friend to me today, but that's the perception that people can have. It's like, well, you need to drink to have fun.
My dad said the exact same thing to me at my brother's wedding. Well, you're not going to be fun anymore. And I was 4 months sober in Italy.
Wow.
And I thought, this is hard enough to not have wine in Italy when I'm just starting out.
Yeah.
And it is, can we keep those relationships? And, what does that look like? I definitely want to dive in later, but really, I hear that you were using it as a coping mechanism, like when your father died. So when you got sober, did a lot of those emotions and feelings start to show up that had been muted and covered up by alcohol use before?
They did. And I've obviously heard from clients and from a lot of people that it's an extremely painful time when those things come up, because you really are in the reality of your feelings, and what you were numbing and pushing down comes up. For me personally, it wasn't like that. It felt home. It felt great to feel. It felt great to be really aligned with my feelings, to feel present. It wasn't, yeah, it was really an opening for me where the
That's
light did come in.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure since I can't wait to dive into how clients feel when they work with you because that's such a beautiful way to reframe it. I think a lot of people are scared of everything that starts cropping up that they haven't been addressing or
Yeah.
feeling or low levels of self-worth or shame. Did you have any of that stuff to overcome? Because I coach clients on self-worth and all this visibility, and I do feel like alcohol just holds us back so much.
Yeah, guilt and shame were the two that really, it wasn't necessarily the pain of some of the things that I was numbing from. It was really more the guilt and the shame that I acted a certain way, I lived a certain way, I didn't show up the way I would want to, the things that I had done, the time that I had lost when I could have been better. So that was definitely the hardest part of my healing journey is really overcoming the guilt and the shame for sure.
And how did you do that? And how do you help clients do that today?
It's really a matter of reframing. Life is not linear, it's complicated, right? We all have these parts of ourselves, the shadows of ourselves that leaning into instead of leaning away from is really what makes us whole. And we all have them, and it's really to own them and to embrace them and know that we're human. So I take them through certain exercises where I have them rewrite their story, from the beginning. And actually rewriting their story actually helps them and me look at it differently. Look at it not from the lens of guilt and shame and I should have and I could have and I would have, but actually looking at what was going on. I did the best I can at that, just reframing that whole parts of your life. So
Yeah, that's beautiful.
there's really deep exercises, and then also hypnosis really does help with that too.
Yeah. So you offer all of this, right? You offer the mindset shifts, the NLP, the hypnosis.
Yeah.
And so what drew you to those modalities, you were kind of using them already.
Already. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what drew me to be certified as a coach. It was never my goal. It was really to create Pure Clarity to be a place where people could explore being sober curious, explore more mindful living, experience a sound bath, yoga, restorative movement, connect with like-minded people in an environment that people necessarily couldn't find on their own, and to sample non-alcoholic beverages and just bring an awareness to a whole way of conscious living, to mindful living. We get blasted with so much on social media, do this, do that, be there, da 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 da. And I just wanted to bring it all under one roof. And, it's just beautiful to see the community connect with each other and become really great friends and do stuff together and collab together and just, be there for each other. And it's just beautiful to see how this has all kind of grown.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about the events or even the retreats. How do they run and what do you really offer when, women show up and are there?
Yeah, so basically I do an annual event where it's both men and women. And that typically is like panels and classes and like an all-day event, mocktail bars and non-alcoholic bars and brands and speakers. We had Laura at our last one in 2024.
Nice. And where do they normally happen?
And that's in LA mostly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to take the model and make it a bigger model over the course of time. And then I do a women's retreat every April, and that's for about 25 to 30 women. And we do that in Murrieta Hot Springs. And that is basically a time where the ladies will come down the night before and bond and connect. And then we do a whole day of programming the next day of sound bath. We have a women's circle. And I would say 50-50. 50% of the women that attend are non-drinkers, and the other 50 are just wanting to seek more mindfulness and look at their relationship with alcohol. And that's what I wanted to do, is wanted to create an inclusive community. It's something that I wish I had had access to normalize making the decision to not drink, to normalize and validate a decision that is an empowering decision. It's not of deprivation, it's of an empowerment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you even stopping for 8 months and then going back to drinking, it gives those women who have also maybe said, well, I can take breaks here and there.
Yeah.
How will I feel if I go on a retreat and I take a break there? And I truly believe God speaks through people. And I think at your retreats, it's not even just about you hosting them. It's probably the connections that are being made there are so beautiful to watch unfold.
They are, Caitlin, and the beautiful part about it is they're all age groups. We have all different people from all different age groups, and they're all just really beautifully connecting. And we have Kim Shapira, who's a celebrity dietitian. She does a whole thing on nutrition and wellness for women and hormones with Sarah Goldie, who works out of Murrieta as well. She's working on a PhD for health. So I think just people to have those resources and be able to just talk openly about these things.
Oh, I absolutely want to come to the next retreat
Yeah.
because it's like I just turned 40. And when you're saying you offer resources that are about hormones and wellness, along with just being a non drinker, I think so many people don't talk about how PMS is related to how well you can stay sober. Most women in the rooms that I'm in for a 12-step program relapse around PMS because they don't even put two and two together, that that's a very hard time emotionally, and we grab for that coping mechanism.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our body responds very negatively when we're in during those times because of our system. And obviously, alcohol is a toxin. It's not actually helping anything.
Right. And we talked about the Annie Grace and just giving us the facts about it. I think women and hormones are a big topic of conversation these days. And
Mhm.
so I think relating that and bringing it in and saying, this isn't just about alcohol. Alcohol is like one piece of this big puzzle that we're all dealing with, trying to
Yeah,
figure out this human mind, body, and spirit. And what you're
100%.
really hitting is all of those things: mind,
Yeah,
body, and spirit.
yeah. And, I've had a few women come to my retreat and said I couldn't get anybody to come with me because there's still that stigma. Oh, you're going to a mindful drinking, mindful living women's retreat, alcohol free living. It's not really for me. But when somebody's open to it, those same women have said, I'm so happy that I did this. This is so life changing for me. This is so eye opening for me. This has been such a beautiful time. And just sharing how they felt afterwards and the changes that they've made. And that's all I could wish and hope for is that. So for
Well, it's
them.
the slow growth in this
Slow. Yeah.
industry. How many years sober are you?
Almost 4 years.
Okay, so I'll be 7 in January. And really, 7 years ago, this stuff was just starting to be offered. Like Annie Grace had just come out with that book. There weren't a lot of podcasts. There weren't, I love the quit lit genre. And it's just been a slow growth for it because it's not really a popular choice, but it's amazing women like you and I who are willing to be public about it, how
Yeah.
much it can shift and transform. Like you said, just one retreat can shift someone's mindset to start at least looking at it differently.
Yes, 100%, Caitlin. And I had a friend recently, and this is before I started coaching, who had struggled privately with alcohol. I didn't even know that she had been struggling. And that's the other thing. And I've known this woman for decades. And when I had owned and empowered my decision to come out and say what I did and say and do, she came to me and said, how are you doing this? And so I started privately coaching her, and this is before I became a coach. And today she is 3 years sober.
Oh,
And, so there's a foursome. So the half of the foursome, the two of us are not drinking, the other two are. So you see the shift, and you assume that everyone around you is able to drink normally and be okay, and you're not the one that is able to do it when you have to give it up or make a change. But there's so much more going on with people than we know.
this is
People are just,
also huge around the holidays because
yes,
people are going to go, and we've already passed Thanksgiving at this point and we're heading into Christmas. And that
yeah,
is one of the biggest thing I hear from clients. How am I not going to drink with all these people that look like they can handle it normally? I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm the only one who knows I have a problem. And I think until people say it out loud, it's way easier to pick up that drink and just use it. But the second you
yeah.
out yourself, it's a little bit easier to be like, oh no, now I've said it out loud. I'm not going to make that decision, but it's a hard decision to make.
It is. There's a lot of pressure, right? I mean, alcohol is around us everywhere. And let's say every holiday party has alcohol, mostly, unless it's an environment that doesn't speak to that. I feel that, and I have like 5 tips to alcohol-free living, which is a really basic foundation, which is on my website. And one of the things that I say is establish your why. Why are you giving up drinking? What are you done losing when you drink? Who are the people in your life that you want to show up for? How do you want to show up? What is the real reason underneath all of this that you need or want to give up drinking?
Yeah,
So your why is actually
absolutely.
your lifeline that establishes your motivation. We live out of conditioned minds, and this is what I do a lot in my coaching, is reprogramming and rewiring. We are habitually wired to pick up a drink. If we've been drinking, we've created a neural pathway that has created the action of picking up a drink without even thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people do 21-day reset because you have an end date that says, I don't have to do this forever. But once you give your
Right.
body and mind the opportunity to remove it, even for a short amount of time, like you said, you start to see how you're showing up in the world
Oh
differently,
my
not
God.
only for yourself, but for others.
And how you feel emotionally. You don't wake up in the middle of the night. People think they need alcohol to go to sleep. You don't. I mean, and alcohol is a 48, 72-hour journey. It's not just you have a drink and you wake up and it's all gone. It's in your body for all that time doing things to your system and your mind. I mean, it does support having anxiety and depression. It doesn't relax you.
Exactly. And someone said it's a chemically addictive substance, no matter if you have a problem with alcohol or not. It's the
Right.
same as sugar. If I eat sugar
Sure.
every night at 5 p.m., the next day my body's going to crave sugar at 5
Yes.
p.m., period.
Yeah.
And not to mention, wine is full of sugar. So not only
Yes.
are you craving the chemical of alcohol, but you're now craving the sugar, which when I stopped drinking, I ate all the
You
sweets
had
for
all
like
those
six
sugar
months.
cravings.
And I like the listener to know that that's totally normal and that you can
Yeah.
eat all the sweets at first because it does go away, that feeling.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like I had to retrain my body to stop eating so much dessert after that, right? We're
Yeah.
constantly looking at this as we do any other substance we're using in our life because human beings are just biologically addictive creatures.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, especially when it's all around you, it's not something that can be just removed. It's in so many of our settings and our day-to-day lives.
Oh, it's going to the grocery store and passing
Yeah.
the wine aisle. It's knowing that
Yeah.
it's at the 7-Eleven down the street. It's going to the party or even the mommy wine event.
Go through the airport.
Oh my God, airports were my favorite place to drink. It was like time
Yes.
didn't matter. And, I always
Yes.
made it to my flight, so I don't have a problem with alcohol, but I'll take the 9 ounce pour, not the six.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. If somebody would ask that, absolutely. It's like, really? Is that a question?
Yeah, do you have to ask that? And the amount of money we're saving as well is like a whole nother
Oh
category.
my gosh. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, how did your journey really shape the way you hold space for others, especially this category of these women that are 35 and older that might feel like it's too late to make a change?
It's never too late. I mean, we have a life, we have one life to live, and it doesn't matter. We're ageless. We can do anything at any age. I was speaking to somebody recently that wants to make a change in their 70s. She's realizing that alcohol is not serving her, and it's at any age we can make a change. And it's really coming down to what somebody values in their life, and that's part of the coaching that we do, is really establishing what you value in your life. What are those things, and does drinking align with that? Does it support those values? It's really leaning into fulfillment. I've seen a lot where people will give up drinking and be bored, and the joy will come out of their lives, and they'll be bored, and it's just like, I don't, is this being sober? Is this like, it's because there is more work to be done. There's more work of really leaning into what fulfills you and what next. What can you now do now you've removed alcohol from your life? What are your desires? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your values? And it could be at any age. You don't even have to be ambitious to have that kind of thinking. It's just a matter of what brings you happiness and joy authentically.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at you. You're such a good example. You got sober at 48 and you started your coaching business then, like at 40s
Yeah.
and 50s. This is beautiful.
Yes. I'm just getting going and I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing this till the day I die. I've just made a post this week about that, about I've really truly tapped into my purpose. And if you'd asked me 6 years ago, would I be doing this today? I'd laugh in your face. I'd be like, no way. And I cannot
Yeah.
believe today, here I am. We are so capable of change. And I am just living proof of that. I mean, I'm just getting going and I'm in my early 50s, and I'm the effect that you have and I've had on my friends, on my family, on my kids is enormous. You inspire, you can inspire from afar, you can inspire in your day-to-day life. My kids could not be more prouder of myself because they know what I've walked through. They know how I was, and they know that I've come home today to who I am.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's such a testament to, like you said, your relationship with your kids and your
Yeah. And my
now
husband.
husband. I was going
Yeah.
to say, yeah. What does
Yeah.
that look like today? You said you'll go out to dinner and you're not ordering a drink, and that was then. What does it look like today? So is he still not drinking as well?
Still not drinking. He'll never drink again. I mean,
That's
he
incredible.
loves being alcohol free, and he was a professional footballer in his younger years and was indoctrinated around the alcohol too, and drinking and partying and stuff. And we both had experienced that. But no, he'll never go back to drinking. And our lives today are really leaning into spirituality and just holistic wellness practices. I mean, it sounds like woo, but it's that's our lives. We lead a very conscious life, and we do on a day-to-day basis inspire others. People have made
Absolutely.
changes in their lives as a result of seeing where we are and what we do and how that can, impact them as well.
How inspiring for the woman that wishes everyone around her would change, that by doing the inner work, that by changing yourself, you had a ripple effect that then not only
Yeah.
affects your friends, but affected your husband. And I had a very similar experience when I got sober. My kids were 4, 2, and 1. And
Little.
enough reason to drink, right? Like, I
Yeah.
deserve this. I
Yeah.
working way too hard. But no.
Yeah.
And my ex now husband, but my husband at the time watched me for the first 6 months. I knew he had a quote unquote worse drinking problem than mine. People thought he had a problem. People thought one of my best friends had a problem, and nobody thought I had a problem. And
Yeah.
then after watching me for 6 months and after me saying nothing about his drinking, I didn't harp on him. He came to me 6 months in and he said, I want what you have. I think I need to go to a meeting. I need to get sober. And still to this day, he's sober. We were still together for 2 more years. He got sober and we tried to work it all out. And when we got divorced, to work through a divorce with two sober people was incredible. And then to watch, even today, he's got 6 years. I'm almost 7. And I say I refuse to drink again or else he'll have more time than me. I like to make those
A
little,
little bit of
like,
healthy competition.
yeah, a little healthy competition and keeping that in my why. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. Your why. Your why is
Yeah,
yours.
exactly. But what an inspiration you and your husband are, and what a testament to what you offer your clients. You really are walking the walk and talking the
Thank
talk.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It wasn't always a straight path. I mean, we broke up for a while because of the drinking for about 3 months and broke off the engagement. We were engaged at the time because of the fights, because of the toxic negativity that occurred behind closed doors at times. But we found a way out of that and found a way to grow together and found a way to grow individually as well. So it's always, it's very gratifying to have a partner that wants to grow, especially, men that want to grow and
Yeah.
expand. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about what it looks like. You said there's a bit of spirituality sprinkled in there. What is your concept of either a higher power or the energy of the universe or God? Do you incorporate any of that into your sobriety?
Yeah, I do. Definitely, we've been on this newer path recently of David Guillaume, with the foundation of Kabbalah. My son actually works for him, so is that being able to bring that into our lives. Our minds are such powerful powerful things that we hold, and just bringing more consciousness and more awareness, and really evaluating my actions on a day-to-day basis, not from a shame point of view, but just from an awareness point of view. When I look back at the days of drinking, there was numbing, there was unconsciousness. So living in consciousness, yeah, just being supported by the Kabbalah work and David Guillaume's work. He's just doing amazing things in this world. So he wants to bring consciousness to as many people as possible. So yeah, just daily practices, meditation. My husband actually is becoming a breathwork instructor, and there are obviously days where I get off kilter. I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel like work, but I just get sucked into the busyness and tend to forget the foundation. And, that's when I realize my mind will go off into a negative space, or got to bring myself back.
Yeah, absolutely. Grounding and centering. And I went to David Guillaume twice this year. I did I can't remember. He had one maybe August or October and then one in November. I was just like all in. And I almost quoted him earlier when we were talking about something. And one of the things that he says is life can change in an instant.
Yeah.
It can literally change in an instant. You've been praying for something for months and months and months. You feel like it's not here. Maybe for the listener, that's your sobriety. You're wishing and hoping. I wish I could just stop drinking. I wish I could just stop drinking. Or again, praying. And then all of a sudden it can change in an instant.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And by the way, I was at the same event. So.
Well, now I'm jealous that your son works for him. I'm like, all right, how do you have the in here?
And leading with certainty as well, that everything is going to be okay. Certainty is it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful.
Talk about the reframe of all reframes to instead of ruminating on what's negative and what could happen in a negative capacity. Again, we're talking about drinking here. What if I stop drinking and thinking of the dozens of things that could go wrong or won't feel good, but instead to reframe and say, but what if I had complete certainty this was good? And I could say, what are all the good things that are about to come in? What are all the great things that are about to happen? And we were talking about your coach, Carolina, and I can't say her last name properly, so I won't. But she wrote Euphoric AF, and she has an Instagram for those of you not familiar. And she talks with such certainty about sobriety that it is infectious. You're like, oh my God, yeah, girl, like you're just getting me jazzed to this is what's right.
Yeah. And by the way, very similar story, no huge rock bottom, just, a path of knowing that it wasn't working. It wasn't supporting the life that she really wanted to create.
Exactly. And for those of you that aren't aware, I interviewed Carolina just a few weeks ago. So you can go back and look for our episode together. And I'd love to hear from you if your company and business, and I heard you kind of say this earlier, if it had no limits, what's your biggest dream for its impact?
My biggest dream for its impact is to really create a global model of alcohol-free living. And I align that to like a goop, where I know that sounds silly, but just a lifestyle brand that just embodies and empowers alcohol-free living for everybody, no matter where you are. And it's like a goop, global recognized, where everybody just knows that they can come there for resources to be connected to, wellness and alcohol-free living and brands and facilitators and classes and events. And just to be able to coach globally, just to be able to travel and just to be able to share my message and get clearer on it too. I think that being British, it's been a journey for me to get really clear about my story and about where I've come from. And I'm slowly unpacking that, because when you kind of are very private and you keep things in for so long, even though I've come out and created pure clarity, it's still a very much of an evolving journey for me too.
Oh, I love hearing that. That is such a beautiful vision. And I can see it so clearly when you compare it to Goop. I can see. And it's not silly. You said that sounds silly. It doesn't sound silly at all. It's so beautiful. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses and where you go from here. And unfortunately, we are wrapping our episode, but what I love to do at the end is do these kind of rapid fire questions. You can answer in one word or a sentence, whatever you want, but just a few questions. All right, what's one myth about alcohol-free living that you love busting?
That you need it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you said that earlier. So listen up, people. All
Yeah.
right, something you believed in early recovery that you no longer believe today.
Something I believed in early recovery.
You had such a positive experience. I did not. When I first got sober, I was like, my life is over. I am not going to have friends.
I believe that too. I believe that. That's why I didn't give it up. So thank you for that prompt. I believe that too, that my life would so drastically change and that I wouldn't even, and my friends would not relate to me in the same way. And they don't, but it's a very positive thing, yeah. So
I
I
love
thought
that.
that I would almost not lose my friends, but I would lose the connection that sometimes was brought together by drinking together. But that connection has only deepened and only changed and actually helped their own growth. So, yeah.
I started inviting friends to, instead of happy hour, I'd say, would you like to get a coffee and walk what we have here on the beach is the Strand? I would
Yeah,
say, and
beautiful.
I would kind of weed out who would show up and who wouldn't. I would do more
Yeah,
one-on-one things instead of group
yeah,
things. But that's because it's what felt good to me. I no longer felt like I was going to lack that. It was more, what can I replace it with? What can be a substitute in place of that?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I love
Last.
that. I love that. And we're meant to evolve. Life evolves, nature evolves, people evolve. We're not meant to stay the same. Alcohol keeps us in the same place.
And I
So,
love that you have now met so many amazing people that you could have never imagined meeting before when
oh
you
my
thought,
gosh.
like you said, just years ago, if you told me I was going to be an alcohol free coach, yeah, right.
Oh
But
my
now look at how
gosh.
many beautiful people have been brought into your life.
Oh my gosh, the people, the community, my connections, my new friendships are just incredible and just keep coming in.
Well, it's so funny. We think that it doesn't exist, I guess, or there couldn't possibly be people out there who felt like me. And the second there's
Right.
an inkling of it, like you said, just the Googling and finding and diving a little deeper, I really encourage our listeners to try the same. If you don't feel safe enough or ready for a 12-step meeting, which is what society says it kind of looks like, get
Right.
online, do the research, type into Instagram, sober curious,
Yeah.
whatever it looks like for you, or even chat GPT is amazing because then you can craft it to what you want. I love your messaging
Yes.
around 35 and up because
Yes.
maybe there's a listener who's like, I'm 55. I never wanted, type it into chat GPT. I'm 55. I never
Yeah.
wanted to give up alcohol. I feel like it's not good for my life. Show me 3 resources that I can find that are, and I'm
Amazing.
sure you would crop up. And it's like, you just never know what's out there.
Yes, you really, really don't. And I feel that the awareness is shifting. And I heard somebody say to me the other day that, oh, yeah, it's really trending right now. And I said, yeah, it really is. But I'm telling you, it's a societal shift. It's a lifestyle shift that is occurring. I see it go beyond a trend. It's not a trend. It's a lifestyle shift that people are making and also owning.
And it's not going anywhere. This isn't
Not
like the
going anywhere.
TikTok viral movement and one post gets people to look at it for, 7 days or less. This is something that has been a slow growth over time where we can see
Yes.
really the impact it's having and that it's not going anywhere.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting to see.
Exactly. When we can reframe and look at it that way, like Carolina does, like, oh my gosh, the youth today are even like, this isn't serving
Oh,
me. I want my profile to look wellness related and I want a 6 pack. Like, I want to show myself at the gym, not binge drinking with red solo cups at a party. They're really looking at it way differently now.
100%, 100%, Caitlin. Having a 22 and a 26-year-old, seeing their drinking habits. Of course, they did their drinking when they did, but overall, they don't. They go out to dinner with friends. My 26-year-old goes out to dinner with other couples, and none of them order a drink.
That's insane.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
he's an
like not, didn't
entrepreneur. He's
exist.
26. They're not ordering a drink on Thanksgiving. You know, my kids were drinking green juices over the champagne. I mean, it's just seen, and it's not because of how they viewed my drinking, and some kids when they watch drinking, you know, go the other way. It's just a personal choice that they've made. They're focused on their wellness and being their best selves.
Oh my gosh, I'm now going to offer green juice at all my holiday events and be like, you can choose. It's so true. Plus, I want to wake up in the morning with a glow. We didn't even talk about the hangover effect of what happens, but that is one of the best things. And what I'll say too is when you were talking about you have this wellness aspect to you, your husband already, and you're still,
Massive.
but you were still drinking before and having this
Yes.
wellness. But for me, it was like I'd drink all the green juice, I would go to hot yoga. And then by the end of the day, when I said I wasn't going to pop open wine, I would. And that
Right.
was where it was like the juxtaposition between these two things is not serving me. It doesn't make sense. And that's when I had the internal fight to
Yeah.
then say and Google,
Conflict.
where else are these resources? And so I'm hoping today people are listening to this podcast. People have found it however they have, and they just relate to your story because I know I do. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All
Thank you
right. I
so much.
always, thanks. I always end episodes with the trend on social media. It's called If You Could Have Coffee with Your Younger Self. So if you could go back and have coffee with your younger self, what is one thing that you would want her to know?
That she's enough. She's enough. She's whole. She's enough at the way that she is. She doesn't need people or things to make her feel that way. It really starts and ends with her, and just to believe in that. And yeah, that would be what I would want her to know. And that we're not defined. I would want her to know, and I've always told her this anyway, that we're not defined by our past. We're not defined by our circumstances, our environment, how we were brought up, and if there was trauma, that we can overcome everything. And I would tell her that just to continue to lean into that with that strength and knowing and certainty and a power that she's capable of everything without anybody, without anything to support that.
That's so beautiful and what every listener needs to hear today. So please take Sarah's words to heart. Where can our listeners connect with you? Your coaching, Pure Clarity, community, or events? What are the links I'm
Yeah.
going to throw in the show notes?
So yeah, there'll be a website, and that's Pure Clarity Now, and also my Instagram is Pure Clarity Now, and also I'm offering an exclusive discount to the listeners, so that will be down in the notes with the promo code. Yeah, and I would love to just be, you know, here to have anybody reach out to me with any questions, to let me know where you're at and how I can help, even if it's not a coaching relationship that we establish. I want to be able to be here to establish a resource to be that other person that I never had really. So just, yeah, not that I didn't have anybody, of course, but just, yeah, I just want to be that person. Just
I
please.
think
Yeah.
that's the whole point. We take our pain and we make it our purpose. My favorite
Yeah.
quote is your
Yeah.
greatest gift is offering to the world what you wish had been offered to you in your moment of greatest pain. And that's absolutely what you've done with creating Pure Clarity. So thank you
Beautiful.
again for being
Thank
here
you.
today. And for my listeners, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I have to hit rock bottom to get sober, it's just not true. Sarah is proof. I am proof. I hope you keep listening. Share this with someone that needs to hear it. And Sarah, thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, Caitlin, so much for having me.